It's July 22nd. Back out here, I got probably about 10-12 days before most of my material comes for framing up the structure of this house and garage. But I got to get 2 retaining walls built. So today we're going to do, probably today, tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, we're going to do how to and properly install a retaining wall. So I guess the first thing you got to figure out is where you want your finished height of your retaining wall to be. And then depending on what kind of block you get, the height, you got to figure out where the bottom is going to be. So I'm at that point right now. I know I want to be 4 to 5 inches below the top of this wall right here. So I know where I want my first block to sit. So what I got now is I got some rock in here. I'm going to level it off, compact it, and get that grade set. And then I'll repeat that on the opposite side. I have 2 retaining walls to build. It's on the back side of the storm shelter. And so let's get going on that. We're going to get this leveled off, get our grade. And then once we get our grade with this, we can start setting blocks. But here it is. I'll back up and let you see here. So what we got is, this is the storm shelter. It's going to be underneath the garage, and I have 2 egress windows. And we're going to build a retaining wall off this side and a retaining wall off this side. And then I can fill all this in and all of that right there. I basically wanted to do retaining walls instead of window wells, so I don't have to worry about any water. Like, I'll have this all sloped away so the water will just run away and I won't have to have any window wells or anything like that. So I put some gravel in here. I'm going to use the laser level to get my grade set, get this compacted, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side. All right, now that we got this fairly level and packed down, we're going to lay our first course. So you kind of want to know the angle that you want to lay it and stuff like that. Mine's going to be pretty much straight. I'm going to have a slight angle out, not much, maybe 6 inches. It's going to swing out the entire length, but that's it. But even though this is fairly level, you're going to have to level these as you go. And this first course is the most important. It's got to be perfect. If this one's perfectly level all the way across, the following levels are pretty easy and it goes pretty fast. This one is the one that takes the longest. So I'm going to work on this, just getting my first course down, and once I get that set, it's basically just stacking them on top of each other. I will have to cut the first block of every other course just so that they overlap, but that's not too big of a deal. So I'm gonna get going. I got my first course all set. If you can look, I don't know if you can even really tell, but I have a slight angle out, but that's all I wanted, and I think that's all the farther I'm gonna come out. I'm gonna have a pretty good grade coming down. I can add some blocks here if I need to, but I think to start I'm gonna go 10 out. That gives me about 15.5 feet. As you can see, I'm pretty straight. The way I got it straight in the back is I have this 6-foot level, and as I place another one, I put it across the back of four of the blocks, and then I know that I'm pretty straight. Now, just to lock this down, I'm going to stagger a row of blocks. I'll have to cut one for the front, but I'm just to get these locked down a little bit better, I'm going to put another row on there real quick, and then I'm going to get the other side going. So once I put, I'm going to get a second layer on here, except for the beginning because I got to cut that. And then I'm going to go over and get the first layer on the other side done. before I put the third course on, I'm gonna fill that hollow spot with rock. So that rock will go down through the second layer, all the way down the first, and that'll kind of lock that wall all together. And then I'll put rock behind it as well, probably about 6 inches. And we should be good to go. All right, I got both sides 2 levels high, except for that first piece I gotta cut. And I'm gonna level this off in the middle, get the dirt all leveled off so if it rains, rain won't run towards my storm shelter. And then tomorrow I'll be back out here and hopefully finish this. But there they are. The next step is, as I build these, when you get these blocks that are hollow, they're some of the commercial contractors don't like them. They use all solid blocks, but these are from Menards. They're good blocks. The thing you have to do is you need to fill them with rock as you build it, and that will tie these all together. So that's what I'm gonna do. Tomorrow I'll start out and I'll fill these first 2 courses with rock, put some rock behind it, and backfill dirt as I build it. And it should be pretty rock solid. All right, so this is the second layer here. I filled those blocks, I filled the cavities down below. And then I always put, this retaining wall is gonna be about 6 foot high. And I'm gonna have a good slope away from everything. So this is kind of a debate people have, but I always lay a 4-inch tile down along the bottom, perforated tile, and then I pop it out the end. It's got a slope down and out. I left it a little long because I don't know if I'm going to add a block. If not, I'll have enough to get it to where I want it to go. But I always put a tile in here if my wall's over 4 feet. I never ever have seen water run out of them, but one of the keys to retaining walls is when you get to the top of your retaining wall, you want the ground to slope away from the retaining wall. So you actually want to bring your retaining wall up high enough that you can get a slope away from the retaining wall, and that will alleviate 95% of your problems, because what makes retaining walls fail is hydraulic pressure. A lot of times you'll see these big retaining walls and the ground will actually slope towards the retaining wall. And honestly, eventually that's going to fail. I don't really care how much drainage you have in there, how much rock you have behind it. Eventually, with that water constantly running down towards your retaining wall, the hydraulic pressure is just going to push that wall over eventually. And another reason retaining walls fail is if you plant trees or big shrubs too close to them, and the roots get down in there, start growing, and they'll push those retaining walls out. So that's up to you whether you want to put a drainage tile in yours. I always do. I usually never see it run. I always put like a rat guard at the end, just out of wire, so mice and rats and whatever else chipmunks want to run up in there, they can't. But I always put that down at the bottom course, get it in there, make sure it's got a slope out, and then I just keep building up and adding rock. I'll probably have about a foot of rock behind my retaining wall. So all right, we got that third course on. We're going to start cutting that fourth course, or putting the fourth course on. So I have to cut a block in the first one, and all I use is a skill saw, 7.5-inch skill saw, which I can make it through. I can cut through this top part here, no problem, but this down here is too thick. So I'll mark it on this side of the block, cut it, make a cut here, and on the other side, so there'll be a small section where I didn't get cut. And what you want to do, you don't want to bang this whole block on something, because you'll end up busting these side pieces. You just want to take a hammer and just lightly tap until it breaks, and it'll break pretty easy. I'll show you here. I'm going to cut this one, and I'll show you how I do it. Take a hammer, and I always go right in here and just tap. You just keep tapping lightly, and then it'll eventually just break apart. All right, that's the last block. Now I just got to finish filling these, backfilling, and as I backfill dirt, I'm going to be filling gravel in behind these. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but you got to make sure you have gravel behind them. So I got to finish that, and then once these are full, I can put all the caps on them. These blocks are 77 pounds a piece, and the caps are 53, I think. So it's definitely a lot of work, but I think it looks pretty nice. The only thing I'm worried about this wall at all is up here against the storm shelter on the back side. I backfilled it with dirt, and the reason I did that is because I didn't want to fill it all with rock and then put this retaining wall on it, because then water would just settle down through there instead of running out. So that's my weakest point right there. I ran my compactor over it quite a few times trying to tamp it down. Then I put 8 inches of rock on top before I set the wall, so hopefully that takes care of it. Maybe in about a year I'll do an update on this wall and we'll see what it looks like. I would think if this is going to settle over this winter, that's when it's going to happen. So hopefully that's not the case. I think I did a pretty good job, but you know, it's hard to get this clay, sandy clay compacted. So that would be my weak point if I had any. We'll check back in a year and see how it holds up. But I'm going to finish filling these, backfilling, and then I'll put the caps on, and then we'll be done. But I think they turned out pretty nice.